Through the concrete cracks worn weary by work boots and high heels. Through the concrete cracks showered in tears of sorrow, tears of joy. Through the concrete cracks rumbled by reverberations of 100 years, a flower on the hill takes its first breath, and a grand hope springs. Welcome to the Spring Street podcast at the intersection of creation and destruction in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. And now, a word from the sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Starship Kairos, a podcast studio available for bookings in downtown Los Angeles. Starship Kairos is where my guests and I make this show happen. Soundproofed, cozy, and equipped with professional audio gear, Starship Kairos is an ideal location for any type of podcast. Starship Kairos offers a full suite of services including content consultation, mixing and mastering, and custom jingle writing. For rates and booking, check them out on Instagram at Starship Kairos or click on the link in the description. And now, let's dive in. Okay, Luciano, we are live here on the Spring Street podcast at Starship Kairos. That's the name of this space.
Okay.
The podcast studio is called
It
Starship
looks
Kairos.
Cairo. Yes.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, yes.
Awesome.
Little jet lag from Tokyo, but very good, yes.
Yeah, you're all over the world these days.
Not really, just Japan. Tokyo, Dubai sometimes, yes.
That's quite, those are some distances. So you are the CEO of Global Dining.
Yes, Global Dining Inc. of California.
Okay.
Which is, it's a Japanese company. We public on the market in Tokyo. We publicly listed on Tokyo market. We have total of 46 plus 4, 50 restaurants all over the world at this moment.
Wow.
And we opening this year another location here in downtown, so it's going to be 51 by the end of this year, yes.
Super exciting.
Yes.
And then how many restaurants are in Dubai? Is it just one? Or
Dubai just one, the one we opened in 2020, yes.
Got it. So as the CEO, you're overseeing all of those restaurants?
No,
currently.
as a CEO, I see just the international operations. So
Dubai,
just Dubai, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Los Angeles. So it's 5 locations altogether.
Okay.
And also I'm in charge of the extension of the international business. International business mean anything outside of Japan.
Okay.
Yes.
So is Kozo still in charge?
Kozo is still in charge just for the Japanese operations.
Japanese side. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So when you and I first met, you were the COO.
Yes.
Some things have changed.
Yes.
And you shared with me and a lot of other people your story of how you got to where you are. And it's a crazy story.
Yeah, the story still change every
of course.
day. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's always growing and evolving.
So yeah, you want to hear that story?
I do. I want to hear that story again.
So yes, I'm from a very troubled family. My background, my childhood wasn't that easy. My father was an alcoholic. My mom was staying with him for a very long time. Lot of violence inside of the house. It was hard as a child to express myself or to look people in the eyes or have any kind of communications. So when I was 13, after my mom got out of an hospital after he beat her, I asked her why she doesn't divorce from this man, which was my father. Mm-hmm. And she told me she's staying with him because me and my sister needed a father and a mother together. And she's suffering for us kids. And my answer at that time, which I was 13 years old, was, I understand the fact you're suffering for us, but who is suffering for? So at that moment, my mom made the decision to divorce, and that's how we got to move to Italy. Me, my sister, and my mom. She find a job there.
And before Italy, you were in Romania?
Romania. Yes.
That's where you're born.
Yes, that's where I was until I was 13. Then we moved to Italy, but my mom getting out of a toxic relationship, she was choosing men like me at 15, 16, 18 years old. I wasn't fully agree with her choices, but at the same time, I felt the necessity of getting away from it. Mm-hmm. So at 18 years old, I get out of the house. I met my wife when I was 19, kind of discovering myself and my overall being, my sexuality including. I discovered that together with my wife. And then we got married when I was 22. I had the first kid at 23 and the second one at 25.
Wow.
How all that story relate with the restaurant business. I think the restaurant business gave me the confidence I needed because was something very specific. If I do this thing well, I will be rewarded for. So that if I smile to people, they will smile me back, and that build up kind of my confidence in who I am. And working hard relate to do something or to build up a legacy at that time. So that was the reasoning I got into the restaurant business. Is not the fact my childhood was troubled, but was the only thing I could do with the resources I had, with no studies. And the first thing I got into it, and doing it well, it rewarded me and built up my confidence.
And that was in Japan.
That was
You
in
came
Japan.
from Italy to Japan when you were
Yes, I did
19,
some
or?
part-time jobs in Italy between 18 to 22.
Okay.
So as a hotel, restaurant type of job, and then I work as a barista for a year and a half. And I moved to Japan at 22 years old.
At 22, okay.
Yes, so I got married at 22. We moved to Japan. So from there, I started working with Global Dining until today. So I got into this company, and first interview I ever done in Japan, I wasn't speaking any Japanese or they were asking me questions I couldn't know. I couldn't express myself.
Yeah.
So I started working in this Japanese restaurant, which was, the name was Gonpachi. I don't know if you ever heard. It's
I think I've heard of it.
internationally known. The Kill Bill was inspired from the design of this restaurant in Japan.
I have heard that before.
Yes,
That's crazy.
So
I love that movie.
Yes. So that scene, it's built it up with from our restaurant, which is Global Dining. So Tarantino comes to our restaurant, but it's a different story. Let me keep staying on the same story. So yes, I start working there. The first day, the general manager was telling me, do this, do that, clean that table, clean the other table. And I go home very tired, and I had so much adrenaline into my bones, because I was excited of starting a new life in Japan by myself, far away from trouble, family, new family, my wife, and all of that. But at the same time, I was so scared of losing it because I didn't have money to maintain myself. I paid the rent for 3 months with whatever savings I had, and that was the whole money. But then my wife was pregnant. She needed to pay, we needed to pay the hospital in order to give birth to our first son. So I go next day to work with a very positive attitude. I was thinking inside of myself, I need to do it before they asking me to do things. So I was cleaning the tables practically with 2 hands, left and right. And before anybody see it, I was faster than the previous day. At the end of the second day, the general manager approached me and told me, look, it's your second day. He brings somebody to translate me in English, whatever he wanted to say. Look, it's your second day, but you're faster than so many veterans in here. So I think I want to increase your hourly wage from $8 an hour to $15 an hour because you're working for 2. You want to come for the house meeting we have tomorrow morning, so I can present this to the team. If 51% of the people will vote in agreement with my proposal, then you're going to get the raise. I was, wow, this is the company I want to be in, you know. So that
was on the second day?
And the second day. So that's the beautiful thing, you know. So I go to this meeting, wherever they present myself, I introduce myself, then everybody vote on this decision on my increase from $8 to $15. And just the executive chef was against it. So everybody else was yes. The executive chef was against this decision. So at that moment, I got the raise because was the majority was voting yes, but I was feeling not very good with myself. This guy is the executive chef of this restaurant. He's working for many years. I don't want to demotivate. I was having my paranoia in my head, demotivate him to be in this place just because I got my hourly pay double it up after a day of working. So I approached him with this guy who was speaking English, and I say, I'm so sorry. I really want you to agree with this increase, and I feel like I'm not ready either. I agree with you. So I'm happy to leave the hourly wage as it was yesterday, so I can improve on myself, so I can have your yes too. That means a lot to me. I don't think I deserve it because you didn't say yes. So his answer was, look, Luciano, it's not about what I'm thinking. If the majority of the people vote yes and you got almost 99% of it, that means you deserve it. And good job. Do your best from now on. So that was I still remember that conversation. I think that's the reasoning I'm in this company for so long, because it showed me a fair environment to grow based on meritocracy, based on not on seniority, and all of this philosophy based on the Constitution of United States. It's very rare to find even in United States. Inside of a company. So I think that's what I strongly believe, and I want to reinforce more and more, giving people opportunities to build up their legacies.
Yeah. I think it's a very interesting story because it kind of is like the classical American dream. Of starting at the
kind
bottom.
of Japanese though.
But exactly. But it happened in Japan. Starting at the bottom because you were a busboy, right? You were bussing tables.
Yes.
And then now, I don't know how many years it's been, 10, 15 years?
12, 13 years, I think.
13 years?
Yes.
13 years later from bussing tables, now you're CEO of international operations.
Yeah, and
Global Dining.
I think life, it's a lot about compromising, and timing and waiting for things, humbleness, but at the same time, analytical thinking about issues or things which makes you not be good at the workplace. In these 13 years, I was not every time roses and pink and beauty and light and hair done. It was a lot of tough moments, but I knew it. I can go over it. And so many times I had toxic bosses in these 13 years, Like, for example, I come to US in 2017. My boss was dating one of the servers. The CEO was dating one of the servers, was giving her the best shifts. She was coming to work like on things like drunk or on other things which I don't want to know. And he couldn't take decisions regarding her because was emotionally involved. So those are things which I never go behind or let those things bring the worst of me. I was thinking I was trying to help this guy to realize what's right and what's wrong, but he took it on a personal level somehow. So then he eliminated himself from the picture. You know what I mean? So it's not easy, but it's not impossible. I think the important thing is to have a goal and to know it and to compromise when needs to be done, a compromise, but never forget the higher and the higher and the higher goal and the legacy you need to leave behind yourself. Yes.
Yeah. What would you say is your goal now?
My goal now is to bring the US operations public, and my legacy, I believe, is to hire as many people as possible and make them millionaires. By giving them stocks in this company and growing this company is the easiest way to people like me coming from nothing, and give them the same energy and adrenaline and change them life forever, and them kids' life, or maybe generational after that, family or whatever that person that might be.
Yeah.
So that's my goal for now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's a pretty big goal.
Yes.
There's a lot of
yes.
plenty of room to play with there.
Yes.
So right now there's 2 operations in Los Angeles, 1212 Santa Monica,
Yes.
La Boheme,
Yes.
but soon to be
700,
third.
which is gonna be 100% Italian concept.
wow.
Fresh pasta, pizza, Italian stuff. I think in the kitchen I'm gonna have 60% of the main positions is gonna be from Italy.
Really?
So people will
Wow.
speak Italian. Will be.
Wow.
I think these classic Italians we have a lot in LA, but we don't have an authentic modern Italian. Which people comes from the restaurants in Italy.
Yeah.
And they give you the experience you will have if you travel there.
Yeah.
I'm planning also to train the servers speaking Italian and greeting and
Wow.
take the order in Italian. Maybe not even let them speak English, I'm thinking. So that brings really the experience at higher levels and put us apart from the competition, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
I don't
cool.
know. Maybe I'm too much of a dreamer.
I don't know. I like that idea.
Yes.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there a particular region of Italy that the restaurant is going to draw its most inspiration from?
Yes, I think the inspiration is going to be more Mediterranean,
Okay.
kind of Sicily cuisine, but at the same time, I don't want to be just another Sicilian classic restaurant with the same dishes. I'm looking now, I'm actually going to Italy on Sunday, hiring chefs. I put how you call it? I put a thing on in it.
Indeed.
Out, and I got about 600 applicants just for the chef position.
Oh my God.
I select 70 of them for interviews, so in a week I'm gonna do 70 interviews,
70 interviews.
and then 10 of them is gonna move forward with testing, which I rent a kitchen and all of that in Rome, so
Yeah.
they're gonna do the testing. So I think it's going to be different backgrounds and different people. Some people with Michelin star background, but some people just a specialist in pizza. So it's kind of an interesting puzzle, which in order to innovate, you need to kind of get the best of each section. So you can tell a story with your pizza, with your pasta, with your appetizers, with your salads, so even cocktails. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's the goal. Let's see the reality after I open.
Yeah. So 70 interviews in 1 week. That's a lot.
Yes.
How do you be quick and efficient with your interviewing process?
So I think the preparation is the key of success. Read all the resumes and kind of be very selective with the interviews is very important. That's the first step.
Yeah.
Once you have everybody, let's say I have 70 candidates and I need to interview them in very short period of time, I put them next to each other. I do 3 or 4 people at the same time. And I ask them the same questions. I don't know if you remember.
I do remember those interviews.
So those interviews, I think they are the best because first of all, they're going to be grateful of getting the position if they do. They understand how much competition they had for that position. And just the very, very humble people will go through positively because if you have not a positive mental attitude, then just in that interview, you will be uncomfortable to even express yourself. Make sense what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
So it's like you can see them in their eyes, the uncomfortability. But to be a team leader, you need to kind of socialize with everybody, even people you don't know.
Yeah.
So you also need to make the difference from other people. So I think the most people at the same time I have at this moment, and I still going through applications, it's 6 people every 15 minutes. So 15 minutes, not more than that, have the same questions for everyone. So that's how I do it. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of those questions that you want to ask?
The most important one, I think, it's what's your pain? I think we all relate to pain somehow. And when you ask somebody what's your pain, it's very uncomfortable. And I don't know how politically correct of a question is in a first interview. But and
Los
these
Angeles,
questions, this question doesn't relate with the hiring or firing or not taking them at work. But I believe people are 3 types of people. People who are still dealing with the pain and they kind of hiding it. They maybe not, they are aware of it, but they don't want to be in front of everyone. So they still have things to understand about themselves and about them pain and about what that bring to them, good and bad, and how they need to adjust. Second type of people, it's like they are aware of it and they will tell you, but you can still feel the pain in them voice, which is very good people to hire because they will be honest with you. They will not hide behind the fingers if something happen. The third type of people, which I'm not one of them, I think is the best type of people you can get. They will tell you what the pain was, how they go through, what they dealing with today regarding with that pain, and how they working. So they more analytical, they understand they're in a better place in them life. So I think those three type of people make me understand where I should place them in the case I hire them, or if I should hire or not. I think it's based on the other questions too. But it's good to have people which it's aware of who they are, and they not afraid to be themselves and not ashamed of being themselves. So it's just my personal experience and how I treat this subject. So I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I think so far it brings me success in hiring. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting approach.
Perspective.
Because it's not a typical approach.
No, it's not. Yes,
You're
it's
probably
very personal.
the only person in an interview who's ever talked about something like that.
Okay, so please delete it.
No, I think it's fascinating. I think that it's easy for people to just follow a rubric that everybody else does.
Yes.
So when somebody steps outside of that paradigm for a second and does something different, it makes you notice and it makes you wonder, like, okay, why is that person
doing
something different apart from everybody else?
Yes.
One thing I'm kind of curious about is your transition from Japan to America and what you noticed are the differences, some of the biggest differences between hospitality in Japan versus hospitality in Los Angeles.
Yes. So I think it's not bad employees, it's bad management so many times. I think the main problem Los Angeles has is the superficiality of the management and the training of it.
Yeah.
But also the lack of culture, lack of making people grow within the company. Or it's also a very old way to think about, if this person doesn't have restaurant experience, I cannot hire them, for some reason. So I'm trying to break those rules. And I think that's the limitations of Los Angeles restaurant industry.
Yeah.
At the same time, one big thing is it's a liberal state. And the minimum wage increase now it's $17.50 in West Hollywood. And by July it's going to be $18.86.
No way.
So
wow.
This minimum wages plus tips, which we all know it's at least $150 to $400 a night for a server.
Yeah.
It brings the annual salary income for a server higher than a manager.
Yes.
So that actually destroyed the organization chart and willing to be a manager and to have a career because server position brings much more comfortability, much more less hours,
less responsibility.
So I think that's something like the state doesn't think when they make policies, and I'm all for the individual and all people should make more money hourly and all of that. But also businesses needs to be sustainable. And I increased the salaries from where you were there from at today. We increased the base salary, but we cannot do much, you know what I mean? Because payroll, the minimum wages plus the salaries of the full-timers, managers.
Labor cost is huge.
It's huge. And also it's workers' comp on top of that, sick leave and a lot of other things, which California is not sustainable anymore. for a restaurant to be profitable and make all of this money.
It's very hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. So in order to do that, you really need to be outstanding. You really need to, every time the minimum wage increase, you need to expect more from your people. Because I'm not expecting them to work for free, but I'm expecting them to hire them standards, to sell water, to sell desserts, to sell coffees. I'm going to get more strict on that. So they need to gain that money, because I have another option of just increasing the prices every time the minimum wage is going, but then there's no ceiling to go.
Yeah.
And the ones who will be the most damaged is the community, the neighbors living around our restaurant. If they cannot afford us, then it's hard to do business. So then they lose them jobs as well. So we're trying, but it's not easy. We actually need to increase our prices like every 6 months now, because it's all the time increasing the minimum wage. Yes.
Wow. Not to mention the fact that food prices have been fluctuating.
Yes.
Sometimes
that's all over the world. The inflation is because of the free money, I believe. It's like between the First and Second World War. I remember was a picture of German people
with wheelbarrows
and money buying a bread.
Yeah.
I think that's where we are today. So yes. I think it's coming, because printing money and giving free money for people, at the end, the value of the money decrease. So that's, let's see what this year or next year is going to bring us.
So what about in Japan? Because I've never been to Japan.
Okay.
I would love to go. What is the relationship between managers and servers and bartenders like in the hospitality industry in Japan?
I think it's not much different than what you see in US, but hospitality in general, it's a different concept in Japan as a country. Global dining has a different philosophy, let's say, and it's based on the Constitution of United States. So that's why it's a democratic, freedom of speech, grow based on meritocracy, all of those nice things. But Japan overall, they have an hospitality instinct, because they've been educated, historically speaking, after the Second World War, about the country and how to put itself individual aside and work for the country or for the company, prioritize others instead of themselves. Of course, as plus and minuses, looking at it today, maybe in the 80s was the bubble of Japan. Japan was great at anything they were doing because everybody constantly put the company first, work extra hours, or put the country first, do them best to make proud the country, because they were coming from a place of pain. Yeah. And now the disconnection of the new generation, because they grow up in comfortability as Americans, but culturally speaking, they are expected to do what them parents were doing. It's a disconnection between generations. So I think it's a moment of change for Japan too, at least hospitality levels and human levels, but also policies makers. They very unflexible in changing rules. So rules become before creativity or results. So if the rule, doesn't matter what the results is, if the rule is here for 30 years, so we need to respect the rule. So that's kind of like philosophically speaking, rule is stronger than an idea, because you have no gray areas. You have certainty when you make a rule, right? Creativity is more about uncertainty and going through the waters you don't know. So it's hard for them to do that switch as well, because bureaucrats as US as well, they tend to just maintain the rules instead of breaking them and changing things around. So those are the kind of overall perspective of Japan today. But hospitality is something beautiful. Everybody looks happy wherever you go. They always smile at you. They don't have a tip system. So even if you want to give them tips, so many times they don't accept it. So it's this genuine hospitality. I don't know if the wording is right. Maybe you need to put subtitles for my interview. But genuine hospitality from the heart, Yeah.
That's interesting. The tip system is such a hot topic in LA. People have so many opinions about the tip systems, especially servers, bartenders. I think that it's really fascinating because coming as somebody who used to be a bartender and a server making tips, that's a great job. If you are a musician or an actor or you're trying to start a business, or it's just a great job in general because you can make a lot of money.
Yes.
And you don't need to have a college degree. You don't need to have certain things. People who are working as bartenders and servers could be making more money than people who have gone through a 4-year degree and they've just come out of college.
Okay.
And they go into a job. So while that's amazing, one thing that I've observed just my time living in LA and working in the industry is there can be an attitude of entitlement. And sometimes there's not necessarily hospitality that's shown to customers. Sometimes servers can be very rude. Sometimes they can forget the fact that they're making so much more money than people in the back of house.
Yes.
So it's interesting what you're saying about there just being a spirit of hospitality in Japan, and they're not even making tips.
Yes.
So do you have any thoughts about how the tip system
should work?
Like how it could be better, how the guest could be satisfied, and also the people who work there can also feel like they're getting a good deal?
Yeah, so I think we're going back to the superficiality of the management. When you have entitled bartenders or entitled waiters, which forget that aspect of hospitality for the tips, and they think they granted the 20 or the 30 or the 40% of the value. Like a reminder, it's up to the management, I believe, and people are acting in certain way because they are comfortable to do so at the workplace. And I don't disagree with the tip system which we have right now. So even though organizational chart-wise, it makes it very difficult for me as a CEO of a restaurant company motivate managers to be managers or to have a career in this industry. I believe also it puts me on my toes, and it makes me think about how to incentivize the managers with bonus programs, with benefits like the part-timers doesn't have, with things like they can be seen as somebody who are they get what's them value. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't disagree with the tip system, but I think it needs a reminder to people people needs to be put on higher standards more and more and more and more. So when we got at the level of comfortability, when you never been asked if you know this food or this cocktail, or no food tests, no evaluations for the team, then it's where the team starts lacking and those kind of energy starts come up. So evaluating your team every 3 months or 4 months, as we were starting doing it when you were there, it's actually give that connection between management and team, and this is what I want you to do better, this is what's appropriate, this is not, so it's giving them the opportunity to be better overall. So if they work for you and they've been evaluated every 3 months, they're gonna be successful everywhere they go. I always tell them that. So I think that's my perspective. The tip out system, I think it's good. It's challenging from an organizational chart perspective, but it's good for people like me to think further and to think about systems in order to motivate the management. And evaluating your team will keep them on them toes, and they will not act like that in your restaurant.
One other thing that I've noticed in the industry in LA, and I'm curious if it's like this in Japan, is there can be this revolving door effect where servers are coming and going, managers are coming and going, people are in and out of restaurants, and there's a lack of longevity in a lot of restaurants, not all restaurants. Is it like that in Japan,
I
too?
think that's the healthy way to be in a restaurant. I'm going to explain that.
Yeah.
So I think you need to rank people from 1 to 5 from each section. 1 is the top server you have. 5 is the newbie, it's getting into your doors, or the one who got comfortable and doesn't want to grow.
Okay.
The 3s are between. The people who average, they good. You don't need to throw them away. Sorry, my expression. You don't need to let them go, but you don't need either to promote them.
Yeah.
Between the 1 and the management should be a supervision position or a leadership position somehow of the team. So the 5s, I think that's 10% of the team, which needs to change at all times.
Yeah.
So you give the opportunity for the newbie to be, you train them when they're here, but if they don't become a 3 in 3 months, then we need somebody else. We need to give that position to somebody else. If the 3 doesn't become a 5 at the same time, even the 3s, so wherever they become too comfortable and the after evaluations, the numbers, for example, they don't sell water, desserts, they don't present the dessert menu at the table, they don't smile, they don't care kind of thing. So you need to replace that because the other half of the team is going to actually work more motivated because they kind of feel the pressure of it. And everything rewarded based on performance. So turnovers, this is the healthy way to have turnovers, which should not be the whole team. When it happens like in the big way, like the whole servers quit at once, or the managers never stay here more than 3 months, or bartenders never stay here more than 2 months, then we have a problem. So that's that problem is we don't have a system in place. I put this word on organization chart system, a training system, an accountability system. So it's difficult because that's the superficiality, the results of the superficiality of management in general. When managers quit, I think that's a problem of the ownership at the same time. So it's, as I say, it's very hard to motivate people to be managers and to see the beauty of it. Some people still live in the 60s. You're a manager now. You can be a general manager for $65,000 a year. And people nowadays, $65,000, you take it, do it by yourself, you know?
Yeah,
So
totally.
it's a discrepancy between the generations as well, you know? People which own restaurants for a very long time, like mom and pop places, they're very difficult to stay around, you know, if you want to more from life. Corporations, it's very difficult to stay around too because they lose integrity. Bigger they get, more superficial they get because it's not getting all the way through the chain until the very last one. And this is a problem we have in Tokyo.
Interesting.
It happens. So, for example, me and the CEO, we got into the Gonpachi, the Kill Bill restaurant. We worked for 2 weeks together, you know, and to see the team, to understand their needs. Hey, what's going on, you know, moving a box if need to be. And then we start asking them things to do, this or that, how to improve the team, how to evaluate them, teaching again the managers and the GMs. But bigger you get, you lose that connection with the people on the front line. And more you lose that, more you lose integrity, philosophy, purpose, and all of that good stuff.
That was something I thought was interesting about working at 1212. Well, I knew that it was a big corporate company, global dining.
Yes, but it did feel like...
It felt very intimate. It felt very startup-like, mom and pop-like being at 1212.
Yes.
Because there was an immediacy to the connection. I mean, when I was managing there, I saw you all the time. I mean, a lot at the time.
Not all the time. I was in Tokyo.
And in Dubai. But at the same time, too, I knew that I could just text you.
Yes.
And that you know...
So that's the idea, like making people grow from nothing. Those people is going to be there. Corporate America doesn't have those people. Corporate America, it's based on a seniority system.
Right.
It's not necessarily based on meritocracy.
Yeah.
And those are the results of corporate America, I believe. So America is forgetting one important thing. This country is built up on the Constitution. And we immigrants, we come here humble to do better and thriving as first generations or as immigrants, and then our kids as first generations because of that. And the comfortability which this great country brings to every second generation, which might be my grandkids, they is not healthy for people. You want to give more for your kids in order to have a better life than you do. But when you do that, you actually limitate who they can really be.
Yeah.
Because they had everything without working for it. You know what I mean? So I think that's why the corporate America is different than the Japan perspective, because corporate America forget the essential of America. And I don't see a company, maybe Google or Amazon, I don't know, based more in a democratic approach. I'm not necessarily a democratic, but constitutional approach, American Constitution. So I think are very few the companies which has that approach of freedom of speech. Raise your hand, Luciano, you suck. You could tell me that. I don't agree with it. I maybe not all the time, because somehow you impose. You guys, it's hard to get that communication. I wish I have that more, but I will never fire somebody because they raise them hand against me because of whatever decision I make. Yeah.
What do you think have been some of the biggest challenges for you in your growth as a leader?
Yes, I think the first challenge was when I first became a GM. I was in one of the places in Japan. I was promoted from a maitre d' position to a general manager position. This restaurant was very busy, and we had very short staff when I get there. Then I built up the team. After 3 months or so, I was very strict with the people, prioritizing the guest. I don't care about your feelings. We all for the guest. Why you don't smile? Go home. So very, just from my perspective, just from a guest perspective. And I was in a house meeting, which we usually do once a week. And one of my employees raised their hand. Lucian, we would like you to change the way you talk to us sometimes, because when you get emotional, it's very hard for us to understand. Also, you're firing people very quick, so that's kind of, which didn't change much. You're firing people very quick, so it kind of, we come with the fear of losing our job every time at work, right? So he expressed that at the front of everyone. I was, inside of myself, I was, what the fuck, this... Of course, I was emotional about, but then I keep those emotions for myself and I reflect on it for a second. And I tell them, okay, I'm going to definitely think about the approach I'm going to do. And also when I fire someone, I'm going to communicate better the reasoning of it. So you guys all understand and not fear your position. After couple of months I was implementing that, I understand how beautiful the team was building up together, and actually better people start coming, people were following each other more. I felt more respected. So at that moment I come up with 5 priorities for myself. So that was a challenging moment for me, because somebody who works for me is telling me something is wrong with me. I couldn't understand it at that moment, so I build up 5 priorities in order to communicate with the staff. So those priorities, the first one is the happiness of the guest. The second one is the profit of the company. The third one is the rules of the company. If you need to be on time, you're on time. The fourth one is the other person's feelings. And the fifth one is my own feelings. So I realized that the emotional kind of speaking of myself, it was because I was prioritizing my feelings on them, like how disappointed I am, and without taking care of them feelings, and without giving them the reasoning why I'm so disappointed, like the customer was unhappy because you didn't do that, or you come late and blah, 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 we couldn't sell or whatever. So coming up with those priorities are still priorities which I use every time I'm under stress, let's say, and I don't understand left or right or how I need to move forward.
Yeah.
So those priorities helped me a lot. So that was one moment. The second big moment, I think, was maybe last year. It was my wife got diagnosed with cancer, 4-stage cancer. So that was a moment which affected my career as well, because I was kind of lost and I forget how to why I'm doing this, and I needed to kind of reanalyze everything and reprioritize the whole life and trying to move forward. And that was great help, because I think it make me more empathetic to people problems. I think I probably need it as a leader. I probably need it as a father or as a husband. But empathy, it's something I learned from that lesson. Like being empathetic with your people, caring about them, but at the same time keeping them accountable. It's a very difficult thing to do, I believe. But I think this problem in my life, it helped me in my career to have more empathy for people, for people problems, to be there for them, because I believe at the end it's all a relationship between us co-workers. We bring personal to work and work to personal, home. You know what I mean? And it's I was the type of guy who really divide those two somehow, and I expect everybody else to do it. But I after this thing into my life and my family life, I understand that's not the healthy. I couldn't bear with it. I couldn't move forward with it. So somehow I think you need to have empathy of people problems, or hear your wife when she's coming back home from work about her problems at work. So it's kind of a mix of both of them in a healthy way. Yeah.
Wow.
So those are the two big lessons I learned from in my career. I think my big 2 points. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yes. Life is not easy, but we need to think in a way it's gonna make us be better than yesterday. Everything gets, I think, gifted for us, to us. Even the heart, it's beating for us every morning. We need to understand why we got this into our life to get better, not to why is happening this to me or this, and crying on each other's shoulders. I'm not saying I'm not crying, I'm crying too, but it's good to analyze and understand what's the best perspective for yourself to feel good about whatever issues you might have in your life. Yes. And I'm trying this to teach even people who work under me, and I'm very transparent about my challenges. So I think that's good to have that type of empathy and communication with your team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, kind of going in a little bit of a different direction. You have lived all over the world, growing up in Romania and Italy, living in Japan, spending time in Dubai. You've also been all over the United States. Is there a food scene that is your favorite? A region of the world where the scene there of restaurants is just, you absolutely love it?
I think I don't like to generalize and just get one place. I think it's good and bad places everywhere.
Sure.
Yes. And I like Italian cuisine because it's simple. It's just few ingredients. It's very easy to understand and digest.
Yeah.
I also like Japanese cuisine for the same factors, but it's totally different cuisine. But I like the America also. The American cuisine is from tacos to sushi to ramen to wherever you might like. Good and bad restaurants, it's all over the world. Yeah, I don't know how to answer to that question,
Okay,
to be honest.
that's fair.
Yes.
I mean, it is it is hard. I think for me, I might have to say Vancouver, just because
It's your home.
it's my home, but also some of my favorite cuisines are there. Like so much sushi, so much Indian food.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I do love the street food in LA though.
Yeah,
The
street
street
food is very
tacos.
nice.
I mean, you can get tacos and burritos anywhere you walk in.
Yeah.
LA, which
I
is
think
incredible.
food it's about culture and the people who lives in that city.
Mhm.
So I like LA because it's no walls between people. I live in Italy. I always was a Romanian living in Italy. And I had a few friends, Italians, but never connect at a certain intensity. Europe looks like it's all together and we move around a lot. But it's still there are those walls between people. And I think the cuisine the same way.
Interesting.
And I moved to Japan. Japan, it's an island. Same thing, you know. You always a foreigner in a country which is not yours.
Yeah.
So you're never going to become a Japanese. And then the cuisine, it's majority Japanese. So you don't have a lot of diversity in there. So if we speak about diversity, I think LA is the best city because it's so diverse, the cuisine and the palette of whatever you can get. But at the same time, people can get together from different backgrounds, different countries. For example, my Christmas party last time, we had 20 people, was 18 different nationalities and 18 different dishes, you know. And we all cook together, we all drink together, we all spoke about our traditions in the holiday season. But I think that can happen just in cities as LA, not even in Utah or Ohio. LA, New York, those metropolitan cities, cosmopolitan cities. That's the beauty. So maybe answering to your questions, if we look at the diversity, I think LA is the best city.
Wow.
Yes.
Over New York.
Over New York because I don't know New York so much.
Okay.
Yes. Over Miami for sure.
Yeah.
Over Vegas for sure because it's more like a trendy. You don't have a local vibe. I don't know New York. But LA have kind of a local vibe to it.
Yeah.
To neighborhoods. If the restaurant doesn't address the local community, they're never going to be successful.
Yeah.
We had, who was here? The Zuma, the Japanese restaurant. We had that in Beverly Hills. It didn't go through. In Vegas, is making millions. It's because this community needs that sense of community and needs to be addressed. Hey, community, we're here for you. We're here because of you. So I think the corporate restaurants, which are very big and internationally known, it's very hard for them to succeed in LA because of that factor. Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm excited that you guys are bringing something to downtown.
Yes, I can wait. Yes.
I feel like I deserve a little bit of credit because I told you so many times, gotta look downtown, but there's just so much space. There's so much space here.
It's a lot of opportunity. We got that deal almost free. So
I believe it.
Yes, they give us a good TI. They put the grease trap, the hood. It's actually the Silverstein Properties. They rebuilt the World Trade Center in New York. So they buy the U.S. Bank in 2020. And this restaurant in Maguire Gardens is part of that property.
Okay.
So it's very good deal. We're going to be kind of an amenity to them. And that's why we can spend more resources in making it more authentic or diverse than other Italian restaurants.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes.
Plus, the Olympics are coming to LA 2028.
Yes.
2028. And what I'm thinking is that this city is going to have to, it's going to have to do something about downtown.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of problems in downtown. There's a lot of things that need to be worked out.
Yeah.
And when the Olympics come, the world is going to be looking at LA.
Yeah, I think it's not much about downtown only. It's about California overall.
Yeah.
And look at San Francisco, you know. I think it's blue states. I'm not blue, I'm not red, but blue states tends to have this kind of
these issues
because focusing too much on the individual, it can bring to the extreme. You know what I mean? So I think the healthy way is to be somewhere in the middle. But America doesn't have a middle. It's either far right or far left.
Yeah.
And politics, it's in everything, it's in outdoor dining, it's in everywhere, so
Yeah.
even crime or drugs abuse or building up institutions. And I don't want to get too political, but I don't know where all of these millions are going and helping these people who needs help.
It's a good question.
As not accountable,
It's a good
nobody
question.
can get into
In-
details. I was researching, but
In
nothing.
2021, LA put almost $1 billion towards homelessness. $1 billion.
Yeah.
You could give 10,000 different groups of students who came up with ideas of what to do in their community.
Yeah.
You could give 10,000 of those groups $100,000.
Yeah.
I hope I did that math right. I'm pretty sure I have.
Don't trust him.
$100,000 to 10,000 groups of students to do initiatives in their neighborhoods and their communities.
Yeah, it's like,
How much more impactful would that probably have been than whatever that was spent on? Because
but I think it's kind of gray what was spent. There's no accountability on it.
Yeah.
It's public money, but at the same time, getting into no profit sector is not accountable anymore. So I think it's kind of legalized corruption, seeing the results of today. I don't want to accuse anybody about anything, but seems like the money are going somewhere where is not needed.
Yeah.
Instead of going on into our streets or building up institutions or healthcare facilities or teams on the streets helping these people out, Of course, it's always that percentage of people prefer to stay on the sun in Venice Beach, which no disagreement with that if you don't do anything illegal,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, considering the fact that it's pretty hard to run a restaurant in California just because of like how much you have to spend in labor, how expensive real estate is, and given some of the other nuanced issues that just businesses face. What was part of the decision process of deciding to launch a new restaurant in California as opposed to Texas or Florida or
So I was
Nevada?
evaluating a lot Florida and Texas because of taxes purposes and payroll and minimum wages. I come to this conclusion: operating another one restaurant or two restaurants in the different place is much harder than operating in the same city.
Yeah.
So whatever I'm gonna save on payroll or taxes in myself, then it's gonna be all on planes and hotels and all of that. So it makes sense to move the whole business. If I move the whole business, but then we want the two properties, the Santa Monica and the La Boheme. So it's kind of a bigger picture. I don't know if it's the right timing to sell those buildings or if anybody will have the money to buy it in these days for a fair price.
Yeah.
So that's why we decide to move on with opening a third location. Financially speaking, also, it's not such a big investment. It's about 2.2 our part or something like that. So that was, I think, the greatest way to increase the business, but at the same time, be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's safer to be next to each other than being far away.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Would the dream eventually be, though, to have restaurants in every major American city?
I think all over the globe. So I'm planning to extend. So the board of Japan is proposing me to take in charge of Japan position as well. And at that point, I think I'm going to focus on expanding into Europe, all the capitals of the world. But I need a better system, strategically speaking. I need a better team.
That's okay. This is the video is a little bit of an experiment. So
Okay. I need a better team. I need a better way to do it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's a lot.
Yes.
It's a huge organization.
Yeah.
And you're only one person.
And I want to
you're
make it bigger.
flying all over the world. So
yeah, it's fun though. Yes, it keeps your mind busy.
What what are some of your favorite things about what you do? What are the things that make you smile? What are the things that like give you joy?
I think it's about legacy and people growing under your eyes. See people who come to America as a tourist, and you sponsor them visa and you change them life, and you see the gratitude in them eyes. But at the same time, the people growing. For example, one of the managers at 1212 used to be a buzzer 2 years ago. Now it's a manager.
Really?
Or the GM of 1212 used to be a server. Now it's a GM. So those things, it makes me happy to see you make a difference, even if it's temporary, into them lives. Other things, I like to travel a lot because I live so many places, and maybe because of my childhood not being stable or wanted to be free and out of problems, like traveling and analyzing what I see around myself, different cultures. It's something which fits me, and speaking different languages, it's easy to connect with people at a certain level and analyzing them better. So traveling and making seeing people grow, I think, are the two big things which makes me happy. Yeah.
Do you speak any other languages besides Japanese, Italian, English, and Romanian?
And Spanish.
And I feel like
five.
It's funny to me talking to people like you and Luca who come to America and they just pick up Spanish so quick.
Yeah.
You already speak all these other languages and some Romance languages, and
yes.
And then you kind of need to in LA. You got to speak Spanish.
Yes, you need to with the kitchen in LA. Yes.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah.
Are there any concepts that you can talk about openly that aren't top secret, that are things that you would just really like to do one day? A concept you'd really like to bring in the world?
Yeah, I think now it's going to be a trend of bringing back live music, live entertainment, human connections. It looks like restaurants going through robotics and things like that. But I think one thing will never decrease in value is the human connection and the human hospitality and the human entertainment. So having a genuine hospitality with your guest as a server and guest, but at the same time providing a show with live music, people from the ceiling, burlesque, implementing that with a dinner and somehow in an artistic way to be without bothering too much.
Yeah.
Even if you do a little show, like 5-minute show, and then you get back, like not overwhelming them dining too much. I'm kind of testing that from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I remember seeing those videos.
Yes.
It looks crazy.
Yes.
It looks like a lot of fun.
I think that's type of entertainment which comes back to our lives because people in a moment of crisis, they need entertainment. People in a moment like COVID, alcohol was the best seller we had, right? And I think now the financial crisis is going to come too. So people needs the sense of hope, the sense of relaxing and seeing those different types of arts, from music to dancing to food. I think it's the future. So I would like to have a concept like that, which I can implement all of them together.
Yeah. When I think of La Boheme, just the name, and when I think about the crazy stuff that was going on at 1212 with the dancing and the DJ, and I just think of Moulin Rouge. Have you seen that movie?
Yes. We do shows now, Friday, Saturdays at La Boheme.
Oh, at La Boheme?
At Moulin Rouge, like cabaret shows. Yes, like live band, Ariel is from the ceiling, the girl coming,
Goodness.
Yes, you should come. Today is Friday. No, it's Thursday. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be there.
Tomorrow night?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be
Drinks
fun.
on the house.
Okay. Oh, man, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I think that live music, for whatever reason, seems to have gone away somewhat. Like it's harder to find
good places. Yeah,
just going to a place where you just know you're going to find live music.
Yes, it's true. I think it's because of the cost of it. And California overall, it's difficult itself of having having a successful business without live music.
Yeah.
I think the cost of live music on top of payroll and everything, it's just hard for business to be consistent with it.
Yeah.
So either you implement a fee which pays for the live music, or either you don't do it at all. So I think we're in that transition which people kind of understand what they need to do in order to have it.
Yeah. One thing that I think about with restaurants, just because it's such a hard business to run.
Yes.
Your margins are so tight.
Yeah.
Labor is so high. Materials are so high.
Yeah.
What I think about a lot is what are all the other revenue streams that a restaurant can have and can capitalize on to bring in any kind of extra income. One thing that I think about is
Merchandising.
places that have some kind of an identity, like a cult identity. Like, I can't even remember the name of this restaurant, but there was a place that I went to, like, on the ocean in Oregon, and it just had all this stuff on, like, the walls. I feel like pictures, like it had been there for years and years and years, and they sold hoodies and T-shirts and different, like, trinkets because they had this identity. Like, you wanted to remember, like, I went to this place. And I think that that's really powerful.
Yeah.
To be able to have something that you can additionally offer that's beyond just,
Yeah.
the food, the hospitality, the experience.
I think that's a good idea. You need to already have a brand in order to do that.
Absolutely.
And to be established for
Yeah.
many, many years.
Yeah.
We do merchandising in one of our Japanese restaurants, the Gonpachi.
Oh, really?
So we sell like samurai costumes, like very traditional ones.
Really?
With
Wow.
kimonos, which cost like $900.
Damn.
Or or $2,000 kind of fireman costume.
Whoa.
Very traditional, handmade. And people actually buy it. We had Kim Kardashian's this past Saturday in Gonpachi. She buy one of those.
No
So
way.
it's depends of
Wow.
the identity of the restaurant. It needs
Yeah.
to be very well implemented, the brand.
Yeah.
And then you can sell that brand. But when it's not yet a brand,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to do everything. It's just taking away from your focus.
Oh, no, for sure.
And it's all another business, I believe. Yeah, we tried
Yeah.
the glasses and the hoodies. People still wear those. Yes,
I still have my glass in the cupboard.
yes,
I
yes,
still
yes,
have my
yes.
hoodies.
Yeah, yeah,
Those
yeah.
hoodies were made in this building.
Yes.
Yeah, so-
So you increase the sales for the building, for the business partner.
Yeah,
Now
no,
I got
it's-
it. Why you push them?
Yeah. I know, right? That was my side business.
Yeah.
I wish it should have been. Who inspires you? Like, specifically within the restaurant world, who are your inspirations?
My inspiration, I think the CEO of Global Dining, it's my mentor, and I always analyze him. But at certain point, then you hear the same things. Overall, inspires me groups as Tao Group, for example. Luca is working for Lavo, like the complexity of it. And they one of the few companies which are public, and they come for different backgrounds. The owners of that group. I believe I get inspired not necessarily from restaurant business people, how much I try to expand my vision, taking from other people experiences and translate it into the restaurant business somehow. So I don't have a person which I want to be like that person, let's say. It's not because I'm arrogant. I am little bit, let's be honest. But it's just because I don't know anybody that well, So
Yeah.
yes, I get inspired from different types of business, CEOs or stories, or TED Talks, or master classes, or wherever.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were mentioning that masterclass you were listening to on the way here. What's that? masterclass?
I think was the CEO of PepsiCo,
Okay.
Indra, it's her name, it's Indian background, yes. So, for example, this lady is fascinating me about how to zoom in and zoom out of problems, see the details of it, but then exit from the problem and try to have a bigger vision of what you need to do in order to fix those details. And it's so many things you can get just from books, from master classes. Nowadays, it's so much easier to get inspired. So keep being curious. I think it's the best way to be in whatever you do.
Yeah.
So yes, I am. Yes, I didn't find yet just one person.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future. Yes, Sheldon. Yes.
Do you read a lot?
I used to read more than I do right now. I'm more of a visual guy.
Yeah.
So I like to read, but now the videos are on everywhere. So
Yeah.
I prefer videos than reading. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
It's faster.
There's so much accessible for us.
Yes. It's crazy.
YouTube, shorts, or the whole YouTube video, podcasts,
Yes,
audiobooks.
yes.
There's a lot.
Yes.
I'm kind of curious because in my whole experience knowing you, I've only ever seen you work
Yes.
because you're a really hard worker.
Yes. Okay. I don't know about that yet.
What do you do when you're not working? What do you do for fun?
So when you find what you like to do, you never work a day.
Yes, of course.
So that's, I think it's me, because I was telling you about my childhood, or this is what built me up.
Yeah.
This is what I'm happy doing. I don't expect everybody to do what I'm doing,
Yeah.
but I cannot live without it. I was in the middle of pandemic for a month at home. Probably you know the story. And I was getting depressed. I cleaned the house. I did gardening in La Boheme. I did this. I did that. I was kind of in my head and feeling this sense of nothing, sense of not being good enough. Makes sense what I'm saying? And that's why me and Luca, we decided to open 2F12 in the middle of pandemic and give drinks and food to go and blankets for the people to sit in front of the restaurant. So that's how 2F12 today got built, and then after that it was a continue grow because nobody else opened after a year and after a month and a half. I think that they closed out in March and we opened in mid-April or something like that.
Yeah.
So I cannot live without work, without doing this. And this is what I like to do for living, and this is my hobby as well. And I know it sounds sick and sounds not mentally far away from wherever. I don't know if I'm a work alcoholic.
Yeah. Probably. You probably fall
yes.
into the category.
But maybe it's just, it's what I like to do, you know what I mean? So, of course, I like to spend time with family, do a barbecue with friends once a week and things like that. But nothing major, like I want to invest this and I'm going to leave everything else because of this.
Yeah.
And traveling and work works very well with me. I don't need to take vacations to go to Italy.
Yeah.
I go for a business trip,
Yeah.
So again, work gets more fun and fun and fun every time. Yes.
Yeah. Are there any things that you would have done different if you could?
So many, I
back
think.
in your
No. In my life, I don't regret anything I done. I think everything, it brings me who I am today. I don't have regrets. Every time I wanted to do something, I done it. Of course, I have better version of myself, of myself over the years. I made these decisions in a certain moment, which maybe I will not make today because of who I am today. So I improve as a person and as a business person, but at that time it was necessary for me to do that mistake in order to be here today.
Right.
So that's why I don't regret anything. When I want to do something, I'm going to do it right away. I'm kind of all over the place, but at the same time, I have a goal and if I want to get there, I'm going to get there. Doesn't matter what. So if it's because I want to go there, that goal, wherever that might be, I make mistakes in the process, I actually feel like it's worth it and I learn from mistakes, It's when you meet, I'm not afraid of failure, you know what I mean? Make mistakes. Usually people are kind of afraid of failing and they beat themselves for months, like left and right and praying to God to be forgiven. But me, I'm more like the type of person which I'm grateful of doing a mistake and I'm analyzing that, and maybe next time I'm still gonna do the same mistake, but I'm gonna be aware in the middle of doing it, and then the third time I'm gonna reflect before I'm making the same mistake.
Yeah.
So I think it's human process of growing. Some of us grow faster, some of us grow slower, but mistakes are good for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a healthy perspective.
Yeah. So that's why I don't need therapist. I just need a glass of wine every night.
Oh, man. Luciano, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I hope it's understandable.
No.
If you need subtitles, let me know.
Sure. I have one last question for you.
Yes.
What advice would you give to somebody who is just wanting to grow in the restaurant industry?
Dream big. Try to be humble. No, try to be humble. You need to be humble. Be humble, dream big, and have a passion of what you're doing. Grit. It's very important for people coming from nothing, without dreaming big, they cannot be humble. Makes sense what I'm saying? Because they don't have the motivation to do something. Just being humble and not having in your mind where you need to go. You're not gonna resist more than a man doing the same thing. But when you have a bigger dream than yourself, something almost impossible. I don't know if it's buying a house, or it's being the CEO of a restaurant company, or it's opening your own bar. But today, it's impossible for you to do that. So have that in your mind and be humble going through any experience. It's important. So not having dreams is like not having life or enough passion to go through life. And then you get sadder. You get sad because you've been humble for a certain period of time, and then you kind of lose the essence of it, and you don't understand why you're doing it. And you cannot explain that to yourself. Then you try something new, and it's again, you humble again, but again, you don't know why you're doing it. I'm not speaking specifically about you. It's in general as us. So yeah, I think dreaming big is the first thing, and then being humble and going to get that dream, whatever that might be. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see where your dream takes you.
Yes, exactly.
I'm excited
Hopefully
to see
not on the streets of downtown LA.
I don't think so.
Yes.
I doubt that. So, Luciano, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's crazy to see, where we've come from and our own personal relationship.
Yes.
Meeting you
I'm
years
proud
ago
of you doing all of this stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yes, I told all my friends I'm going to be famous. Don't call me anymore after tomorrow. Yes.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Best of luck. I can't wait to go to La Boheme with you.
Yes. Tomorrow night. Yes.
Tomorrow night. Let's do it.
Let's go. Let's see the show. Yes.
All right. Sounds good.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Luciano.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the Spring Street Podcast. If you'd like to support the show, sign up for the Patreon to receive exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and check out the sponsor links in the description.